Hey, flower friends. Have you ever met a black-eyed Susan that looked quite like this? Today, I want to introduce you to a family of flowers that some of us may know about, and some of us may grow some of them, but there's more of them that you maybe didn't know about. And also, if you've struggled to grow some of the flowers in this family, today I'm going to clear the air. Friends, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler. And today I want to introduce you to Cool Flowers. And Cool Flowers is the name of a book that I wrote, Cool Flowers, which is all about cool season hardy annuals, a group of flowers that kind of just fell off of our radar decades ago because they kind of have an awkward planting time. They're not quite as simple to figure out as it is with warm season tender annuals, which is the annual that most of us are very familiar with. You know, we're talking tomatoes, basil, zinnia, sunflowers, all those plants that as soon as it warms up, we plant them, they bloom all summer, and then when frost comes, it kills them and we're done, right? Well, cool season hardy annuals are also an annual, just like the warm season, but they just have a very different planting time. And I actually launched my flower farming career on this group of flowers back in 1998. So I have been figuring out and growing, and they became the biggest part of my flower farming business, which went on for 25 years. And if we've never met before, so I am a city flower farmer. I live in the middle of a city of 200,000 people, which means I have limitations. Limitations of I cannot have any houses, meaning greenhouses or hoop houses, any structures. It's against city ordinances. And I don't have limitless space. And what I soon learned when I was venturing into flower farming back in 1998, and I really ramped up by 2000, is that if I planted a bunch of perennials and woodies, I would very quickly run out of space. And that led me to truly explore growing annuals in a way that I heard mentioned in bits and pieces in really old books, but you just didn't read or learn about it in books of today and instruction. Because, friends, this is going to blow your mind. But when I started flower farming, we barely had the internet. 1998, I mean, of course, there were no cell phones or smart devices, but most homes didn't even have home computers yet. So people like me that were learning how to flower farm and grow flowers were looking at books, magazine articles, and if you were fortunate enough to hear about a cut flower conference or something, because there weren't many, but that's how we actually learned. So I really kind of motored through how, in my small space of being a city flower farmer, could I grow the most flowers for the most blooms to be able to have flowers for the longest period of time. And that just really led me to not only totally hit the pedal to the metal on growing warm season tender annuals, which we grow a boatload of, but what I soon learned, it was the cool season hardy annuals that launched spring, and that is the highest demand season of the year. If you are a flower farmer or if you're a gardener that loves to provide for pollinators, do habitat for beneficial creatures, maybe you're a gardener that your home is going to be on some spring tour next year. This is the family of flowers that you need to embrace 100%. These are the earliest bloomers out in my field in the garden. I'm in southeastern Virginia, but you can apply what we now call worldwide the cool flower concept to wherever you live. But you have to figure out when that window of opportunity is for you, which is what makes them a little bit more difficult, but so worth figuring out. Right? So because, I mean, we're talking about who are some of these flowers? Why would you even want to bother with it? So who are they? Bells of Ireland, sweet peas, snapdragons, statice, some dill, black-eyed Susan, straw flowers, the Rudbeckia family, did I already say snapdragon, sweet William? There's just so many great flowers. Did I say poppies? And some of these are the very first one. Bachelor buttons are one, especially if you're a gardener that wants to provide for habitat. Bachelor buttons, even their foliage excretes nectar before the blooms even open. So you're providing for those guys, but they are one of the first bloomers right along Iceland poppies out in my garden here in late March, early April. So this is a group of flowers that many of us maybe have been trying to plant them like a warm season annual, and we just struggle, and most of us just give up. This is the secret ingredient, y'all, we're going to talk about today. Now, if you're watching on a phone, you probably can't see this, so I'll tell you, you have the option to purchase items that I'm speaking of. There's a ribbon underneath this video if you're watching on a laptop or a tablet or something, but on a phone, you may need to close the chat box to be able to see the actual products. So as I'm talking about this stuff, I don't bring it up, but you can actually go in there and put it in your cart. So step one with learning about cool flowers is my book, Cool Flowers. This book came out in 2014, and it has sold more copies in the last year and then the year before that, individual years, than it did for the first 5 years it was out, because people just don't get it. They don't understand the concept and all the benefit of it. And now that the word is out, it is, people are really understanding and people are doing it, and they're doing it so successfully that it's fueling them just like it does me, because I am still figuring out today, friends, more cool season hardy annuals, because they typically are not identified that way for us to know, okay, who is a cool season hardy annual besides the one Lisa tells us about? And so this book, Cool Flowers, which was actually written for home gardeners based on my years of flower farming, really explains the basic concept, as well as there's a section in here that I always point out to people that I don't want you to overlook. It's called, it's just this little small section, the self-appointed garden. And you know what that is? Some of the cool flowers, cool season hardy annuals, are strong reseeders. Iceland poppies, bells of Ireland, some of the rudbeckias, bupleurum, that's another one. They can all reseed in your garden. So that little section in this book really helps you to ponder, how can you make the most out of that? Instead of being annoyed next fall with all these little baby flower plants growing everywhere, not where you wanted them, to kind of like focus those plantings where you can make the most out of it. So there's a lot of great information in this book. And when you purchase the book through the Gardener's Workshop, I love autographing every single book for you guys. So they all come signed, whether you ask for it or not. But we give you a bonus. This one comes with a video book study, which we give you the link to when you purchase the book. So this is, if you're not familiar yet with Cool Flowers, this is the place that I recommend that you start. And then let's just say you have been growing cool flowers, maybe you're a flower farmer, but you just need more information. You want to grow more flowers. You're toying with the 3-season cutting garden. That's where my book that came out last year, the Cut Flower Handbook, kind of takes you to the next level. If Cool Flowers is elementary school, this is your high school right here. It takes you through how to really set up your garden for a 3-season cutting garden, how to figure out what that means to you, what your planting window dates are, right? Then all the different ways that I set up my garden to be maintenance free. Then it guides you through harvesting, like how to make where to make the cut, why that's important, netting the garden, preparing a bed, all that stuff is in here. And then, friends, the back 3/4 of the book features 66 different flowers. And each one of, I mean, gosh, look at every page I open to. This is straw flowers. That is a cool flower, by the way. That it just tells you everything in here, what varieties to grow. I'm just trying to get, there's a table in the front of each group of flowers. This tells you all the different, need to know facts about each of the cool flowers that are in here, the cool season. So this book is your next step if you are a flower farmer and you want to learn more about succession planting, how to implement that, and why cool season hardy annuals are just a really big piece of that. So I chose to talk about this now, and I'll be talking about cool flowers. I consider July cool flower month because now's the time for you to start thinking, so why are we talking about it in July? This is typically not where most people need to even worry about seed starting yet, but you need to be planning, because where are you going to plant cool flowers? Regardless if you're planting in the fall or very early spring, you have to prepare the place that you're going to plant for very early spring. Because what is very early spring? First, I'll just give you the lowdown. Fall planting is typically 6 to 8 weeks before your first historic frost, fall frost. Okay. Very early spring is 6 to 8 weeks before your last historic spring frost. For me, my last frost is typically like mid-April. So that means I'm planting in mid-February. Classic. We may have snow on the ground. It's always wet then. You can't prepare soil. That's what I hear from people. Oh my gosh, who can prepare soil then? None of us. That's why you have to think ahead, y'all, and prepare the planting bed for very early spring in the fall while it's still dry outside. And for me, when I'm planting or preparing my fall planted beds, I just prepare a couple extra beds that sit empty all winter. They're ready. They're filmed. They've got biodegradable film on them, or they're mulched, whatever you're doing. And they just sit there empty all winter. And then when I walk out in mid-February with my stock plants, stock is a cool season hardy annual, y'all, stock and straw flowers and more sweet William, I just sweep the snow off if there happens to be snow on the ground, or just plant. You don't have to worry about preparing, right? So those two windows of opportunity. And so fall is quickly gaining on us, y'all. And now in July, I typically, as I do today, have some cool flowers still blooming in my garden, which I wanted to give you a live look at. And I'm just going to run through these flowers. So why are cool flowers important? First off, they're some of the earliest spring bloomers. Not all of them bloom in spring, like Lysianthus. Straw flowers can keep on going throughout summer and the heat, but they're some of the earliest bloomers. And if you're a flower farmer, spring is the highest demand season, y'all. You don't even have to work very hard to sell flowers in the spring. Everybody's desperate for flowers at that point in time. And to have a boatload of fresh flowers from your garden available, whether it's for you personally or for your business, is a boon like no other time of the year, right? So I want to show you some of the cool flowers. And what I showed you first, because we've talked about that, I love this flower, y'all. I'm just sitting here looking. This is not a straw. This is not a sunflower, which that picture that's over my shoulder is from the front of my book, the Cut Flower Handbook, and that's an oversized poster that was made. But Blackeyed Susans, aka Rudbeckias, it's one of those confusing families. The horticulture world has done a fine job of confusing us on some families of plants, like Dianthus Rudbeckia is one, where within that family, there are perennial Rudbeckias and there are hardy annual Rudbeckias. And I don't grow any of the perennial Rudbeckias. None of them are showy, great flowers like what we're looking for as cut flower farmers. So we grow them all as hardy annuals, meaning they love getting planted either fall or very early spring to go on and perform. They're a huge part of my flower farm. I grow about 9 different Blackeyed Susans, and this one is the latest one to join the family. This one joined about 3 years ago. Her name is Maya, M-A-Y-A, and let me just tell you, look at these blooms. Look at how many petals. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal. And she's also one of the earliest ones to bloom. And because she's an early bird, I really particularly appreciate planting her in the fall, because anything that blooms early if you plant it in spring or very early spring, it doesn't have much time to grow up before it has to start blooming. So you may get short stems. But we get nice size stems on Maya. She's pretty much done out in her garden. These are ones that I cut off the side shoots to bring them in. But this is, people don't recognize it as a Black-eyed Susan, and it's pretty spectacular. I mean, I just love everything about it. And so this is a really great one. Now, one of the side effects of growing this family is you provide tremendous habitat for native bees. We have a really great big community of native bees here on my farm. And we didn't start out growing Rudbeckias for this reason, but because I've grown so many Rudbeckias for so long, we have so many species of native bees on our farm. People just absolutely love, I mean, master gardeners and bug people, right? Love to come and observe. And they attribute a lot of them to this family of flowers, which is Black-eyed Susans or Rudbeckias. Now, here's another great one. So this is Goldilocks. Goldilocks also is a double. She's not, I mean, that Maya is just amazing, right? She's so different. And I love each one for different reasons. Goldilocks I love because we almost always, with fall planting, get this in time for Mother's Day. And it's a great focal flower in bouquets. She's big, but she's not huge. Sometimes flowers can be too big to use, right? And we have great stem length. And Goldilocks is just a great color. It goes with pretty much everything. So that's a really great one. And then here's a favorite of a lot of people. Does anybody recognize this one? This is Sahara. And Sahara is a mix, and it has a bunch of different colors in it, but this is the last color to bloom. The others have already come and gone. Sahara is really great stem length, and it's just got a great mix. And so I do try to extend my, sorry, y'all, my Black-eyed Susan harvest by fall and very early spring planting. This is Cherokee Sunset. That also is a mix, and this is just the one that happens to be blooming now. That's really a lot of fun. And so all of these, we just find them covered in native bees. Now, this is probably the most useful in bouquets. Sorry, y'all, something's got in my craw. This is Prairie Sun, and it's bright and light. Sorry, y'all, let me get some more water. I'm pretty sure I got dill pollen a little while ago, and it's in my throat. All right. Prairie Sun. I love this one because she's the most versatile as a cut flower farmer. Excellent landscape plant. Also, and again, we plant it every fall, but treat it as a hardy annual. Have you ever seen this one? This is Chim Chimney. Love this one. It has fluted petals like a tube, and they just don't get bug damage, meaning how some Rudbeckias can get spots. That just doesn't happen with this. Super stem length. Love Chim. People love this. This would be just a great bouquet in itself at the either supermarket or flower farmers at markets, but it's just super useful. I don't see as many bees on Chim Chimney as I do for these next two that I'm going to show you. I mentioned about the native bees. So we have a very large community here of longhorn bees. Y'all, those are bees that are about that big, and they have their antennas are like twice as long as their bodies. But y'all, they have like the sweetest pollen breeches you have ever seen in your life. And when they're crawling around on blooms like this, which is one of their favorites, this is cherry brandy. they really stand out, right? I didn't cut any more cherry brandy because I just couldn't take it away from them. I don't plant very much of this because it's a dark color. But the native bees are really, really drawn to this one. But I'll show you their number one favorite, or I guess I'll say it's where I find the most bees, right? The most native bees. This is Denver Daisy. And look how big these blooms are. This was one that was always very popular with florists. They love big flowers. You know, it takes up space in the arrangement, right? But love Denver Daisy. This is also a really strong reseeder. I don't find that to be true. The others will reseed. I have not found any Mayas. Most of the others, I will find a few, but Denver Daisy is definitely one of those ones that she might annoy you a little bit, but plant it where it can become a meadow flower maybe or something beyond your cut flower garden. But just look at that. It's just really, really beautiful. So all of this family, huge cut flower crop, cash crop, as well as a major player in your home garden ecosystem of native pollinators. So all of those are in the shop. They're in the strip. And as I mentioned, down below the video, there's a strip that has all these things that I'm mentioning and showing to you and teaching about. So let's talk a little bit more about bumblebees. So I'm sure if you're a vegetable grower, you probably already know that tomatoes are self-pollinators, which means that the bloom has both parts, the little boy part and the little girl part, simplifying it, right? But they need a little buzz to help them get going on. And who does that for them? That is a bumblebee, which is a native bee. I think there's 45 different species of bumblebees, and we have about 10 that show up around here. The bumblebee is the only bee that actually vibrates. You know, when they land on you, that's how you know they're there. You feel the bzzz, right? Well, when they land on a tomato blossom, that's what they do. And that's why they're such excellent tomato pollinators. So you want to do everything you can to encourage as many bumblebees to near your tomato plants. So I'm going to show you a couple, but these are all cool flowers, y'all, right? Meaning they're cool season hardy annuals. This is pincushion flower or scabiosus. And I actually grow it in all 5 of the colors. This is Fata Morgan, which is like buttercream. There's white, there's blue, cockadee, there's Fire King Red, and there's Black Knight. They're all excellent cut flower crops, right? Bumblebees adore this flower. So this is one that you definitely, my book, Vegetables Love Flowers, actually is kind of about this concept. Why you should have flowers present in your vegetable patch. It's for these types of reasons, y'all. It's not so much plant this to get rid of that or to avoid that from coming to your garden. It's more about attracting the good stuff to your garden than keeping the bad stuff away, right? So pincushion comes in 5 different colors. And I think this is the one that got me earlier. This is dill, y'all, and it's the bloom in all stages. This is my favorite stage to actually use for cut flower bouquets. It's right after the yellow has shed the blooms, but it's just starting to develop the seed. It is so easy to hydrate. It holds up so well at this point. My sister uses these blooms. Can you see that? Oh, there you go. My sister puts these blooms in our bouquets and puts this bloom right above the canopy of flowers. And our customers fondly named it, "We want the firework flower." And that's exactly what people think. So here it is dried where you can save your own seed. So we use dill at very many stages. And if this dill is like at eye level or higher out in our garden, you can't imagine the action going on outside in my garden right now in that canopy of all the parasitic wasps, which are good bugs, y'all, little teeny bugs. They parasitize bad like caterpillars and things. So many good bugs. Such a great cut flower. It's a cool flower, y'all. I fall and very early spring plant. Oh, bingo. So the other kind of surprising cool flower. This is one that I just learned about probably about 3 years ago. And look, it matches my shirt, y'all. Do y'all know what this is? This is Tweedia. And look at the powder blue. This is amazing. And it's a pretty tall vine. I mean, look how tall it is. And it's still going strong out there. It's probably the strongest growing cool flower out there right now. This is a color. If you are a flower farmer selling to event people or to florists, this is a color that they cannot just get. They cannot get. It is powder. This is Carolina blue, y'all, for sure. And so Tweedia is a cool flower. And a lot of us know about feverfews potentially, but there are so many different feverfews. I grow all of them. You'll find all the seeds over on our website, but this one is called Virgo. And this is one stem, and look at those little buttons. Long range of harvest. Totally love it. And I grow all the different feverfews. And it's a fall and very early spring planter for me, so I can extend the bloom. Y'all, I hope you're just getting the feeling that when you truly embrace 3-season annual gardening, there's no end to the blooms. That's why they're so valuable to the home garden as well as to the cut flower farmer. So that is, and then these two, which are always, this one is always a favorite. This is green mist. It kind of looks like, some people call it the Queen Anne's lace look-alike. It's not Ami Magus. This is Ami Visgna. I'm not quite certain how to pronounce that, but it's in the Ami family. This has nice foliage. The blooms and the stems are thicker than Ami Magus. Look at that green. Love this. Love that one. And then yarrow always creates a lot of conversation. Just like how I was mentioning earlier, Rebecca's have perennial versions and hardy annual versions. Yarrow's the same way, y'all. Coronation Gold is like one of the perennials. Then there's the melliforms that are typically annuals. They are strong reseeders, and a lot of people think, or farmers decide, they're going to rely on reseeding, and that's fine. But what you need to know, the reason that I grow this mix of Colorado Sunset and summer berries is that the colors that I love the most and grow it for are not strong reseeders. The white and the pale pink tend to outseed them, and we just lose those colors. This pale yellow, this dark red color, and then these beautiful shrimp colors that are in here. I mean, we just plant it every fall, and we absolutely love having it. And beneficial insects, oh my gosh, y'all, they just absolutely love yarrow. Now, I have 2 flowers left to show you, and then I want to talk to you about how I start. So many of these start from little tiny seeds. I'll share with you how I do that. Straw flowers, cool flower, y'all. I keep saying that because we have people joining us. Cool season hardy annuals are what we're talking about. Straw flowers are like kind of forgotten, you know. We absolutely love using straw flowers, particularly in the height of summer when our zinnias can be so stressed with disease. We just kind of let them go, and straw flowers start picking up the slack in our mixed bouquets. This is the peach mix. Love this color. What a great color. And you know, straw flowers dry and look just like this. We make, there's all kinds of crafted opportunities. So if you do grow them and for some reason you don't sell them, there are other options. But we found supermarket bunches, florists, our own bouquet makers. There was just never enough. They're very productive. And so that's the peach mix. This is what we call the king size mix, which just has a bunch of different colors. This gold, and all the colors are also available individually. The gold and this pink down here saved us in summer. I mean, they just became the focal flower, and people get quite, listen, they're like born dry, y'all. I mean, they hold their color and look just like this. So straw flowers are usually just undervalued for flower farmers, but it really If I could have had straw flowers every single week for our supermarket straight bunches, we'd have sold them. But we used them all up in other ways, in other markets. So this is a Manarda, y'all, bee balm, but it doesn't look like most bee balms. And so this is a little bit spent. I actually had to beat the bees off to actually get this out of the garden because it's pretty bloomed out. I mean, that's what it looks like. See if I can get that one up here. See how that's how it looks when it's like totally mature. It's got a double-decker bloom, but I love to really, I thought I had one here earlier that was more immature. Here, I like cutting it before there's more than one or two pinks petals open because you can use it for more stuff, right? If it's not dominated in this, it's more like a lavender probably color. Bee balm, oh my gosh, fall and very early spring plant it. You can shear half the bed to pinch it, to stagger the blooms. It's got a fragrance. People love it for filler, and people that do weddings really, really appreciate this. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of taste. Now, one of the other unspoken or like not talked about very much, when you plant cool season hardy annuals in their fall or very early spring, what happens is because they're so well established, they also continue to bloom longer into the heat and humidity than they would have. Typically, most people plant these plants like it's spring, right? For me, my last frost is mid-April. Instead of planting them either in the fall, if they're winter hardy for you, or in very early spring, which for me is mid-February, they would typically plant something like this in like April when my last frost is coming around. So that is 8 weeks of getting established when you plant in very early spring so that your plants are ready to perform instead of them still being just putting down some roots when they have to start growing up and blooming. And it just explains so much when you actually realize all of that, that you can plant earlier. Now, I mentioned earlier, I was going to show you how I start the plants because, a big part of this family is snapdragons, which were a huge cash crop for us, and how you would go about starting those. So I wanted to show you before I demonstrate how I actually do it. We have the Soil Block Maker Kit, which again, the ribbon of video or products are down below the video. And this is our customer favorite product. And it includes the Soil Block Maker tool. This makes 20 of the 3/4 inch blocks, which is the one that I use almost exclusively. It includes the Seed Starting Made Easy course. And this is our online course that comes with the kit. You have lifetime unlimited access to it. Takes you through starting, growing them up inside, hardening them off, planting them out in the garden, as well as sowing seeds out in the garden, and even sowing seeds into plug trays. And then you have your choice at checkout if you want to get 3 cool season seeds with your kit or 3 warm season seeds. And like right now, we already see the transition. I was helping to pack orders or pick orders yesterday at the warehouse. And we're already, all the Soil Block Maker kits that went out of there yesterday, everybody was taking cool season. So it's like, I'm not the only one thinking it's time to make the switch. This has Rocket Snaps, Tetra White Wonder Feverfew, and Indian Summer Rudbeckia, just 3 really great ones. The kit also includes 5 of these trays, which are reusable foam trays. Y'all, we use these for years. They're not meant to be disposable. They're flat bottoms with no drainage holes. That means that you can do this anywhere inside your home. It holds 3 sets of 20, so 60 plants will fit on this little tray. We also provide the seed pan, which I find, I'm going to show you, I'm going to sow some snapdragons here in a second, show you why we use that. It's static free, so it helps you get your seed. We use toothpicks to sow the seeds, and these little wooden plant markers that come with it. I don't really mark plants with them. I use them like little tools to handle my soil blocks in the event that I need to do that. So you get all of this all of the seeds, the blocking, the soil block, the seed starting made easy course, as well as a bag of the blocking mix. So this blocking mix, it looks like a small bag, y'all, right? It's 6 quarts. This will make 600 of those little small blocks. So it goes a really far way. So I want to demonstrate. I believe the kit is $89.95, and that's, I think, like a 15% savings, purchasing all the items free. So it's a great deal. You know, it's for the person that might be seed starting another way, and you're thinking, I want a soil block. This has everything in it for you to get started actually soil blocking. So I think I need to bump you up one box here. Let me make you a little taller, and I want to show you how I make the blocks, and then I'm going to sew some snapdragons, which is always a point of questions for us. We get a lot of questions. So I always put my blocking mix into a tub because you add water to the blocking mix, right? And a kitty litter box works great. You want something that's wide enough for you to work in, something that you can add water to, and we give you the ratio. It's 3 parts of the blocking mix to 1 part water. So it's much moister than what most people imagine, especially it's different than most other methods. So this has been mixed to that, and this is what's in your bag. It has all the nutrients. You don't need to add anything to it. You hold the blocker with the stationary bar, and you just push it down a couple of times. You're just trying to make sure that the chambers are full, not necessarily packed. And yes, my friends, this is a potato masher. That's the tool that I just find to be the best. And so you can see this tray is pretty dirty. We use them over and over again, y'all. They're forever trays. You place the blocking tool down on the tray, give it a squeeze, a push, and a pull. And literally, we just made 20 of those little blocks, just that quick. And then I am going to sew. I guess I should actually turn my tray around so I can put my tray up, and we're going to sew some snapdragons. Yeah, that'll work. I can't quite reach it as well as I think I should. Wait a minute. Here we go, y'all. You know, when they let me do these shows by myself, you just appreciate people so much more. Now, here is the seed pan that I just showed you in that kit. We literally use a toothpick with a little saliva on it, and I have dumped in here just a few of, I don't know if y'all will be able to see this. Let me see if I can. Right on the end of my toothpick is a little pelleted snapdragon. Whenever we can get pelleted seeds, these tiny seeds, we always do. People appreciate it so much. Pelleting, it's a clay product. The pelleting helps the seed machines from the big seed producers to count the seeds. But as seed starters, we love them because it helps us to see the seed, right? So as soon as you touch it to moist soil, it almost disintegrates. But snapdragons need light to germinate. And I picked up 2. When you have a seed pan that has no static electricity and a toothpick with a little sticky saliva on it, y'all, you just can't believe how quick and fast you can sow seeds. I literally just touch my toothpick to the seed and it jumps right on. And you can do this really quickly if you aren't, you know, doing it, being filmed and reaching across something you don't normally. So I am continuing to just sew them right on top. Now, snaps need light to germinate, and they need a lot of oxygen. That's why you sow them on the surface. And so these will, even though it's a warm season, a cool season, hardy annual, they still go onto a seedling heat mat. What I find to be the perfect conditions for that is about a 65 to 70 degree air temperature. And it's that simple, y'all. I'm going to stop sewing so I can talk to you. Okay. So I would sow all these seeds, and then I would take that tray in and I would put it on a seedling heat mat. However, For cool season hardy annuals, I do it a little bit different. Even though it's a cool season, it still needs a level of warmth for the seed to get the signal to say, oh, I'm supposed to break dormancy and sprout now, right? And if it's too hot, they won't do that. They'll just sit there and wait, right? So we use our Seedling Heat Mat, but I put a cookie cooling rack on it. You know, like you put your cookies on when you bring them out of the oven, they have a little leg. By putting that on the Seedling Heat Mat and then putting your tray on the cookie rack, you create an airspace of about that big, and that just cools the Seedling Heat Mat down just a little bit, because those seeds need a level of warmth, but they don't need it hot like warm season does. And that's what we do. I mean, that is how we have done it for years and years, and it works really, really well. Also, Seedling Heat Mats actually have a built-in thermostat. Most of them, the ones that we sell and use. And that thermostat is keyed off of the air temperature. So if you try to start cool season hardy annuals in a super hot space like a greenhouse or an unair conditioned space, that heat mat is going to overheat, and it won't necessarily cook your seeds, but they're never going to sprout. So that's one thing I absolutely love about soil blocking, because it is so small and compact. You know, you can fit 40 on this little tray. The kit I just showed you can hold 60 on that little it's like 5.5 by 11.5. You can put 60 plants on it. That means you can set this little system up anywhere inside your home where, guess what? It's air conditioned, which is exactly what cool season hardy annuals need. You cannot successfully start cool season hardy annuals like outdoors in a greenhouse this time of year, or even in 2 months from now here where I live anyway, because we're hot right up until October and November, right? So soil blocking makes it really possible to do it anywhere inside your home. And so the soil blocking kit has all the instructions to lead and guide you along that way. And then I will mention again what I do with them. If you need resources, the Cool Flower book, all of this is available right below this video in the ribbon of products. The Cool Flower book is the first step. This really explains the Cool Flower concept, the simple concept of just cool season hardy annuals, right? And it has 30 flowers listed in here, and just helps you to wrap your head around. And, you know, because the hardest thing, especially for people up north, to think, oh, well, I can't fall plant, so I can't do it. Well, you might not be able to fall plant. Maybe you have heavy snow load all winter, you know, or, you know, you have snow on the ground until April. But everybody can very early spring plant. You might not be able to plant quite as early as I can, but you can plant that family of plants far earlier than you can any warm season annual you ever dreamed of planting, right? So it really, and we have people in zone 3 and 4 that grow cool season hardy annuals that are planting them in very early spring and having huge success. Then if you need the complete picture of a 3-season cutting garden, cool season hardy annuals, fading into warm season all summer, and then how to even maybe get some of those to bloom, like cut flower kale for the fall. Everything you need is in the Cut Flower Handbook. It leads and guides you, and they're all available right below. And we include bonus PDFs for the Cut Flower Handbook and a video book study for cool flowers. And I love signing all of the books that leave our shop. So friends, it's time to be thinking. Don't be planting flowers now, because we're still planting our third succession here on my farm of warm season. You need to know, where are you going to be planting cool flowers, so you don't plant something in that spot or that area that won't be done in time for you to prepare and plant your cool flowers on time. Because that is the biggest challenge, friends, for most people, is they plant late because they didn't make space. So this is your warning. All right, friends, please give us a follow, subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any of our timely tips. And I appreciate you being here so very, very much. Y'all, we do everything we do for you, literally. We just love empowering other people to grow, cut flowers, no matter if you for pleasure or for profit, for whatever you're doing. We want to help and be a part of it with you. So friends, until we meet again, ciao.